Hello Geostats class, this is Dr. Cartledge, and I know that many of you are working feverishly on your final projects. I wanted to offer an additional resource to you in case you were having some difficulties bringing the data that you downloaded into ArcMap and joining that to the stations file that has been provided to you. On the screen now, I have ArcGIS open, and you can see over in my table of contents that I have the stations file that has been provided to you. I want to take a quick look at the attribute table because in order for a join to work, you need to have a primary key field that is present in the shapefile, and it must be present in the tabular data that you're seeking to join to the shapefile. In order for this join to work properly, the data in each field need to be identical in format. By this I mean they both need to be formatted as string or text, or they both need to be formatted as a number. So let's see what the format is of the stations file. So if we right click and we open up the attribute table, we're going to be joining on the W-band field. This is the unique identifier for each weather station. You can think of it as a name for the weather station, and no two stations share the same name. They are unique to each station. If we right click the field and go down to properties, we'll see that this field, long numeric precision 10, this field is formatted as a numeric field. Therefore, we need the associated field in our tabular data to also be formatted as a number. If it's formatted as a text, it's not going to be a selectable option to join onto the W-band field. Now you should have downloaded the data as a CSV file. In order for it to work nicely in ArcMap, I tend to use an older version of Excel, the 97 to 2003 version. For whatever reason, ArcMap tends to like that better than the newer XLSX file format. I'm not saying that you can't use XLSX format, but I'm saying that you'll have a greater chance of no odd little curiosities of ArcMap preventing your join to work. Okay, here's your CSV file. It's been saved from the CSV file into an Excel spreadsheet. Right now it is saved as the XLSX format. I'll show you how to save it as the older format just for increasing your odds of success. Now you'll see that the unique identifier over here is not formatted exactly like the W-band field in the shapefile. They need to be identical in order for the join to work. You'll see that there is some extra information appended into the beginning of the field. So we have USW 000547889. What I'd like for you to do is to insert an additional field. So we'll right click, we'll hit insert, and we're just going to call this W-band. We're going to enter a formula so that we take only the last 5 digits of this text field in column A. So we'll hit equals right. We're going to point to the very first one, comma, and then 5. All the W-band fields should be 5 characters in length. We'll hit enter and you'll see that this took off the last 5. We want this to fill down for all of our data, so we'll just double click the lower right corner. But you'll see that it is left aligned, so that's already telling me that this is still formatted as a string or a text field, as it is over here where you have letters and numbers. We need that to be a number. Where this is an issue is down here when you have a W-band with fewer than 5 figures. We have 04843. Well, we know that in a number format, the leading 0 is going to be dropped off. So let's format this as a number. We're going to insert one more. We're going to call this one W-band underscore join. Now, just as a word of caution, when you are writing your field names, these are going to be brought into ArcMap, and ArcMap does not do well with numbers or spaces as the first letter of the field name. So what I practice is always using letters and an underscore if I'm trying to separate two words. Also keep it less than 10 characters in length. Okay, so now we're going to equal number value, because we're going to convert this to a number. And now we have a number. See how it's right aligned? We will fill this down. And you'll see that it is working well. Paste our formulas all the way down. Okay, so now we have a field that is taking the last 5 numbers of the station ID that you downloaded. It was first taken off, which is the 5 numbers, and now it is the 5 numbers as an actual number format. At this time we need to save this, so we'll go File, Save As, and here as Save As Type, look for the Excel 97 to 2003 workbook. That is the file format that you want. And you'll go ahead and save that. Now we're going to open up ArcMap. Okay, in Arc, there's a couple of things that we can do to kind of simplify our process, and I'll just run through them real quickly so that you can have that knowledge and that tool set available to you. First of all, you'll see that in the stations file, there really are a large number of stations. So maybe you want to pare these down just to the ones that are in your state or states so that you can more easily do your geostatistical analyst extension use later. So it's very simple to do with our data set, because within the stations table, you'll see that we have a state column over here. So if we want to select only those in Kansas, for instance, we can go to select by attributes, the layer name is stations. These are all the fields that are in that attribute table. And you'll see that it's quite simple to use. We'll go down to state, double click, state equals, and then we want to get the unique values from that particular field. You can start to type in Kansas. There's Kansas. And if we hit OK, you'll see that just those in Kansas are highlighted. Now with them highlighted, you can right click on stations and go to Data and Export. Right now you're going to export only the selected features, and then you would export them where you want them to be saved. Make sure that you save it as a shapefile rather than a file or personal geodatabase feature class, and then you would hit save. And I've already done that, so we'll take a look at what that looks like. And so now we just have the stations in Kansas. Well, what if our stations actually span a couple of different states? Well, that's not hard to do. So we're going to have state equals Kansas. We'll insert or. We'll go back to state equals, get unique values. Let's say they go up into Nebraska. We hit apply and OK. And now we have Nebraska and Kansas highlighted. Again, you could right click, go to data, export data, change the file name to what you would like. We want it to be called Kansas and Nebraska, save it, and you would have Kansas and Nebraska stations. Works beautifully, okay? Now you'll have a nice compact data set of just the weather stations in your area of interest. Now we're ready to join the data. So let's go back to stations. What we need to do is we need to add the Excel worksheet that you just worked on. We showed you how to do that. So you would find it here. It is File Modified Older. See, it's just XLS rather than XLSX version. You double click it. This is the sheet name in the spreadsheet. We're going to click Add. And here is our table right here. So now we're ready to perform the join. We're going to right click on stations. We're going to go to Join and Relate, Join, and we're going to be joining on attributes from a table. We know that the primary key in the shapefile is called WBAN. We have our spreadsheet that we just joined, and you'll see that WBAN join is present in our table. You'll notice that WBAN is not present because that was still formatted as a string variable. It's a numeric value in our station shapefile, and only the one that we converted to numeric in Excel is showing. So we'll hit WBAN join. Now here we're going to validate the join first. And you'll see that 30 of the 2,285 records match. Well, 30 is exactly how many weather stations that we have data for, so that's perfect. Now we're only going to keep those that are matching. We hit OK, and here are our stations that we have. Now if we open up the stations attribute table now, we should be able to scroll over and see that there is actually the data from our table joined to the shapefile. Looks perfect. Now just so that we know, a join does not physically put all the data into the shapefile for permanent keeping. It can be removed by going to Joins and Relates and remove joins. So if you want to export this as one shapefile with all the data permanently attached, all you would need to do is go to the right-clicking on stations and hit Export Data, and you would export this as a shapefile with maybe stations underscore data underscore joined, and you have that file and you wouldn't have to repeat those join steps ever. Okay, so that is the successful join. And that's assuming that the stations that you selected were from the stations list. They have the WBAN identifier. In case you included a weather station that does not have a point because it wasn't part of the WBAN network, that's not the end of the world. It's actually quite simple to create a new point. If you go to Selections, go to Customize, Toolbars, we're going to turn the Editor toolbar on. We're going to hit Edit, Start Editing. We're going to select stations. Actually, let's just select whichever field that you're wanting to edit. So we'll just edit the Kansas stations. And we'll turn those on. And let's go to Editor, Editing, and we're click Create Features. We're going to select the stations, select Point, sorry, my ArcMap is being a little curious right now. Well, I'm sorry, you would just hit Select Point, right click, and then you would click Enter Absolute XY, type in the Latin long, and then hit Enter.